There is a fundamental psychological disease infecting the modern world, and it is the exact reason why 99% of the population will live and die in financial mediocrity. You have been conditioned to operate as an economic parasite. Welcome to Pratibodh Wisedom. In this masterclass, we are going to tear down the single most destructive psychological flaw keeping you broke. We are going to analyze the brutal, unforgiving laws of value exchange. We will look at why the market completely ignores your needs, your struggles, and your desires, and why the only metric the universe respects is your ability to produce leverage. Listen very carefully. If you are struggling financially, if you feel invisible to the marketplace, and if your bank account is stagnant, it is not because the system is rigged. It is because you are operating with the psychology of a beggar. We are going to execute a violent rewiring of your identity. By the end of this audio, you will no longer view yourself as a consumer hoping to extract wealth from the world. You will operate as a lethal, highly efficient producer of value. Part 1. The Beggar Mythology and the Law of Exchange. To understand the disease, we must look at a universal truth wrapped in an old parable. It is a story often told to children, but its economic implications are entirely lost on adults. Imagine a beggar sitting at a busy railway station. Every single day, he stretches out his hand as thousands of people rush past him. He asks for their spare change. He asks for a fraction of their capital. He operates entirely on the hope that someone's pity or guilt will result in a transfer of wealth into his palm. One afternoon, a highly successful, exceptionally wealthy businessman walks onto the platform. The beggar, seeing the tailored suit and the aura of authority, assumes this is a prime target. He approaches the businessman, stretches out his hand, and asks for money. The businessman stops, but instead of reaching into his pocket, he looks the beggar in the eye and asks a terrifying question. "You ask me to give you my capital," the businessman says. "But what are you giving me in return? Do you only take from this world? What do you offer?" The beggar is stunned. His entire reality is fractured. He replies, "I am just a beggar. I have nothing to give. I only survive by asking." The businessman replies with the absolute cold truth of the free market. "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you have absolutely no right to ask for anything. I am a merchant of reality. I operate on the law of exchange. If you provide me with value, I will provide you with capital. If you offer nothing, you receive nothing." The businessman turns and boards his train, leaving the beggar entirely empty-handed, but for the first time in his life, awake. This is not just a story about a man on a train platform. This is a perfect, flawless mirror of how you interact with the global economy every single day. You might not sit on the street with a tin cup, but if you are an average employee, a struggling freelancer, or an aspiring entrepreneur who cannot generate revenue, you are operating with the exact same psychological framework as the beggar. You go to your boss and you ask for a raise because inflation is high and your rent went up. You are asking for capital based on your personal needs. You go to the market and launch a business, and you ask people to buy your product because you worked hard on it and you really want to be successful. You are asking for capital based on your desire. The market does not care about your rent. The market does not care about your inflation. The market does not care how hard you worked. The market only asks one question: what are you giving me in return? Capital is simply a physical representation of stored value. It is energy. People do not part with their energy because you need it. They part with their energy because you have solved a problem, alleviated a pain, or fulfilled a desire that is mathematically more valuable to them than the cash in their pocket. If you are broke, it is because you are continually asking the world for its capital without offering a disproportionate amount of value in exchange. You are a consumer trying to extract, rather than a producer trying to deploy. Part 2. The Identity Prison. Why do you struggle to provide value? Because you are locked in an identity prison. Let us return to the beggar on the platform. When the businessman asked him what he had to offer, the beggar's immediate reflexive response was, "I am just a beggar. I have nothing." His lack of wealth was not a resource problem. It was an identity problem. He had accepted the label of beggar, and because he identified as a beggar, his brain completely shut down any cognitive process that would allow him to see himself as a creator of value. He became blind to his own potential leverage. Napoleon Hill famously stated, "What you think about, you become." But this quote has been deeply misunderstood by the modern toxic manifestation culture. It does not mean that if you sit in your bedroom and think about $1 million will magically appear. It means that your physical reality will mathematically conform to your internal identity. If you view yourself as a low-level employee, you will only look for low-level tasks. You will clock in at 9, you will clock out at 5, and you will wait for instructions. Because you wait for instructions, you offer zero strategic value. Because you offer zero strategic value, you are paid the absolute minimum required to keep you from quitting. If you view yourself as a struggling content creator, you will act like a beggar. You will ask people to please like and subscribe out of pity. You will ask for their attention without providing them with any actual transformation, entertainment, or education in return. You are currently earning the exact amount of money that your identity allows you to earn. To escape the identity prison, you must completely murder your current perception of yourself. You must stop defining yourself by your bank balance, your job title, or your past failures. The beggar on the platform had an epiphany. He realized the businessman was right. For days, he stopped asking for money. He sat in silence and observed his environment. He noticed wild, vibrant flowers growing near the train tracks. They were free. They were abundant. And they were beautiful. He had an idea. He walked over, gathered a handful of flowers, and returned to his spot. The next time a passenger walked by and dropped a coin into his hand, the beggar did not just take it. He smiled, reached out, and handed the passenger a flower. In that exact singular fraction of a second, the universe shifted. He was no longer a beggar. He was a merchant. He had transitioned from extracting value to exchanging value. The flower was small, it was simple, but it was an undeniable offering, and the market responded immediately. People smiled. People thanked him. And most importantly, when people saw that they received something beautiful in return, they began to give him more money. The donations scaled, not because the beggar needed it more, but because he had altered the mechanics of the transaction. He had introduced leverage. Part 3, the consumer versus the producer. This is the exact transition you must make in your own life. You must cross the chasm from consumer to producer. The modern economy is divided into two distinct classes of human beings. The consumer class makes up 99% of the population. They wake up, they consume digital media, they consume fast food, they consume entertainment, and they consume their salary by buying liabilities. They view the world purely through the lens of what they can take from it. When they face a financial problem, their only solution is to ask for more, to borrow more money, to ask for a handout, to hope for a government stimulus. The producer class makes up the elite 1%. They view the world entirely through the lens of what they can build, optimize, and distribute. When a producer walks into a room, they do not ask, "What can I get from these people?" They ask, "What massive, painful problem do these people have, and how can I construct a system to solve it?" When the beggar started handing out flowers, he joined the producer class. He took raw materials from his environment, the wildflowers, applied his time and effort gathering them, and created a product that provided emotional value, a smile, a moment of beauty, to his target demographic, the train passengers. Days later, the businessman returned to the station. The beggar excitedly approached him, but this time he did not hold out an empty hand. He held out a flower. "Sir," he said, "if you give me capital, I will give you this flower in return." The businessman smiled, handed him a large sum of cash, took the flower, and said, "You have finally understood the law of exchange. You are no longer a beggar. Today, you are a businessman." That verbal confirmation was the final nail in the coffin of the beggar's old identity. He realized that the passengers were no longer giving him money out of pity. They were paying for a product. He had built a business. He immediately left the train station. He took his small amount of acquired capital, and he refused to ever beg again. He had graduated from the school of poverty. Part 4, the delusion of entitlement. If you want to achieve this exact same evolution, you must eradicate your sense of entitlement. Entitlement is the belief that you inherently deserve success, wealth, or status simply because you exist. It is the belief that the universe owes you a comfortable life. This entitlement is constantly fed to you by social media. You see influencers living in luxury, and your ego whispers, "I deserve that too. I work hard. I am a good person." But the market is a cold, sociopathic calculator. It does not grade on a curve for being a good person. If a surgeon is an arrogant, terrible human being, but he is the only person on earth who can successfully perform a highly complex, life-saving brain surgery, the market will pay him millions of dollars. The market values his extreme, rare competence. If a genuinely kind, loving person works as a cashier at a grocery store, the market will pay them minimum wage. The market does not hate the cashier. The market simply recognizes that the skill of scanning barcodes can be taught to anyone in 10 minutes, or replaced entirely by a machine. The value is incredibly low, and therefore, the compensation is incredibly low. You must stop confusing your moral worth with your economic worth. Your moral worth as a human being is infinite. Your economic worth is strictly dictated by the scale and rarity of the problems you solve. If you want to make $10,000 a month, you must solve $10,000 worth of problems for society. You must find a demographic of people who are experiencing pain, inefficiency, or a lack of status, and you must provide a mechanism that cures it. You must become the merchant on the platform. Look at your current output. What are you actually giving the market? Are you just showing up, doing the bare minimum, and asking for a check? Or are you obsessively refining your skills, analyzing data, and looking for ways to provide overwhelming, undeniable value? If you are a freelance video editor, do not just ask a client for a job because you need the money. You are acting like a beggar. Instead, analyze the client's current videos. Notice that their audience retention drops at the 30-second mark. Edit a custom, high-paced intro for them for free, send it to them, and say, "Your current intros are losing 50% of your audience. I built this new framework that will retain viewers and increase your ad revenue by 20%. If you want me to do this for your entire channel, my fee is $3,000 a month." You have just stopped begging. You have identified a problem, provided proof of value, and proposed a transaction based on mutual leverage. You have offered the flower. Part 5. The 6 MONTH Metamorphosis. When you fully internalize the law of exchange, the speed at which your reality transforms is terrifying. In the story, 6 months pass. The businessman is at a different train station, far away from the original city. He is meeting with the owner of a massive, highly successful floral distribution company to discuss a partnership. The owner of the floral company shakes the businessman's hand. The businessman looks at him, confused. "Do I know you?" The owner smiles. "We have met twice before. On a train platform. The first time, I asked you for money, and you gave me the truth. The second time, I sold you a flower. I was the beggar." In exactly 180 days, the man had gone from sitting on the dirty floor of a train station begging for pennies to running a scaled corporate enterprise. How did he do it? Because once his identity shifted, his actions mathematically aligned with his new reality. When he was a beggar, his only strategy was to sit in one spot and hope. When he became a merchant, his brain activated. He stopped gathering wildflowers and started buying seeds. He stopped selling to single passengers and started selling to local shops. He hired other people to sell flowers for him on different train platforms. He built systems. He built leverage. He didn't need a decade to change his life. He only needed 6 months of violent, focused execution under the correct psychological framework. You have the exact same 6-month window available to you starting today. For the next 180 days, you are going to execute a complete moratorium on consumption. You are going to stop asking the world for things. You are going to stop complaining about your salary. You are going to stop wishing the algorithm would favor your content. You are going to become obsessively, ruthlessly focused on one singular metric, your daily output of value. What can you build today that someone else needs? What skill can you acquire tonight that will make you irreplaceable tomorrow? How can you structure your knowledge into a format that saves another human being time, energy, or money? When you shift from the mentality of the beggar to the mentality of the empire builder, the universe stops ignoring you. The market opens its vault. Because the market is desperate for people who can actually solve its problems. You are not a victim of the economy. You are just refusing to participate in the exchange of value. Stop asking for handouts. Find your flowers. Build your leverage. And force the market to pay you exactly what you are worth.